Alright guys, in this one I want to go over what I think is the best Arc 3.0 Warlock build that you can play right now. In my very first Arc 3.0 video, I said that this build is only going to get better, and that time is now. With brand new exotics, exotic catalysts, and the addition to having all our fragments unlocked, this build has now reigned supreme as being one of the best Adler builds in the entire game. I know a lot of creators have made builds very similar to this, but I promise you if you watch this all the way through, you will absolutely fall in love with this one and understand why it is the best in the game for ad clear. Alright, so just jump right into it. Let's take a look at our Arc subclass. For aspects, I'm going to be running Lightning Surge. So this is going to make it when I slide, I can blink forward and I can jolt enemies everywhere. It's kind of like a lightning grenade, but in a melee ability, and you have to be aggressive with it. It's a very fun ability, it's very fun to spam, and it plays a key part to this build. Now I'll also be running electrostatic lines, so whenever I defeat a target with an arc ability or a arc debuffed enemy, I will spawn an ionic trace, and collecting those ionic traces will also make me amplified. For my fragments, I will be running Spark of Shock, so my arc grenade jolts targets, Spark of Ion, so when I defeat a jolted target, it creates an ionic trace, Spark of Discharge, so arc weapon combos have a chance to create an ionic trace, and Spark of Magnitude, so my arc grenades last longer. I specifically opt into taking Storm Grenade because it does a ton of damage, it has a very fast cooldown, and it pairs really well with the Lightning Surge melee ability because you pretty much have double Storm Grenades, both in your grenade slot and your melee ability, and it will jolt, create ionic traces, and just kill entire rooms of ads. I do run Chaos Reach since the ad clear of this build is from our exotics and just the fragments and aspects themselves, so having Chaos Reach for a nice little boss damage burst is pretty good. I would also recommend running Chain Lightning because this does have a shorter cooldown than Ball Lightning, and that will let you get your Lightning Surge a lot faster. Also, as a quick tip, if you don't like Lightning Surge, you can take Arc Soul. This will have your little Arc Soul buddy create ionic traces for you, and when you're amplified, which will be all the time with Electrostatic Mine, it will have it be powered up and it can kill enemies even faster. So that is an option. You get your rifts back a lot faster, but Lightning Surge and Storm Grenade paired together just kill entire rooms of ads with ease. Now, our main exotic for this weapon is going to be the Delicate Tomb. This has the exotic perk Trader's Vessel, so fires a wide horizontal spread when shot from the hip. Final blows of this weapon have a chance to generate ionic traces. Powerful foes and opposing guardians always generate ionic traces. So this is going to be very good because this adds another way to generate ionic traces. The gun itself can generate them, and with Spark of Discharge, arc weapon final blows will also create them, so that adds another layer, and then Spark of Ions, when you jolt enemies, you'll create ionic traces. This build is all about ionic traces due to the fact with things like Tempest Cascade. So collecting an ionic trace overcharges weapon's next shot, jolting targets on hit. You want to get as many ionic traces as possible so you can power this gun up 24/7 and be able to act clear with it like crazy. Now, I do have the exotic catalyst unlocked, so whenever I collect an ionic trace, it will partially reload the magazine from reserves. I will have a video of the catalyst linked in the top right if you guys like a more in-depth look at the catalyst, but this essentially will give you 4 shots every time you pick up an ionic trace, on top of empowering it up with Tempest Cascade and making it jolt targets. Now, since this build is all around ionic traces, the best exotic to take with this is the Fallen Sunstar. This has the exotic perk Ionic Conductor, so ionic traces you create move faster and grant additional ability energy. Nearby allies also gain ability energy when you collect an ionic trace. So before, it was a debate if running Fallen Sunstar or Crown of Tempest was better, but I think at this point, with the amount of ways you generate ionic traces, Fallen Sunstar is for sure the way, and on top of that, you also give nearby allies ability energy, so it's a very support based role as well. You're going to be at clearing entire rooms, giving you and your teammates energy. It is very, very strong, and this is literally what allows you to spam abilities all the time. Now, before we get into the mods, I do want to go over some weapon recommendations really quick. If you don't want to take Delicate Tomb, any gun with Volt Shot will work almost the exact same. So when you reload this weapon, you will essentially put a jolt shot in your gun, and that shot will jolt enemies. It kind of works the same way as this. Delicate Tomb is just a little bit easier though, because all you gotta do is pick ionic traces up and you can constantly keep rocking it. Ionic traces is definitely not hard to come by with this build, so that's what makes the Delicate Tomb really good. But like I said, any Volt Shot weapon will achieve the same thing, just not as good as the Delicate Tomb, but that will allow you to have your exotic slot open for other weapons. Then finally, one last thing, 100 resilience and 100 discipline or 100 strength. You can kind of go discipline or strength, whichever one you want more, but definitely recommend 100 resilience because that is going to be your survivability of the build. You kind of kill everything and you're tanky. I know it is bugged in the game right now, but eventually, hopefully it will get fixed and you will actually get the resilience that you need. All right, so start off with our mods. First things first, I'm taking an elemental ordnance. So when I defeat a combatant with a grenade, it's going to spawn an elemental well that matches my subclass type. So this means I will spawn an arc elemental well every time I get a grenade kill, which would be all the time. For my other mods, I do leave one spot open for any champion mods because you can take this build into in-game. So having something like Unstoppable Pulse, you know, Anti-Barrier Scout, you can just swap your kinetic weapon out, or again, if you want to use a Volt Shot weapon, you can use other stuff, whatever you want to, but I would leave a little spot open so you can take a champion mod alongside with a reloader depending on what you use. The reason you don't need a fusion rifle loader is because of the catalyst, because this will literally keep your magazine full at all times. Now I am also going to be taking a melee wall maker, so power melee combatant's final blows spawn an elemental wall that matches your subclass type. So this will now also create an arc elemental wall when I get a melee kill. So now every time I get a kill with my storm grenade or my lightning surge, I'm spawning arc elemental wells and ionic traces due to electrostatic mine, and all of those are going to give me ability energy back, which allows me to spam stuff even more. Now also on my helmet, I am running a fusion rifle ammo finder just so I can get ammo back. If you don't want to run Delicate Tomb and you want to run a Volt Shot weapon, you can remove this and put something else on here. But I am also going to be running a harmonic siphon, so whenever I get double kills with my arc weapons, I will generate orbs of power. So to take advantage of that, I will also be running recuperation. So this is going to replenish health each time I pick up an orb of power. Since I'm going to be killing enemies all the time with arc weapons, the ad clear is insane with this build. You're going to be spawning orbs all the time with harmonic siphon, and you can always keep your health up. So this is your survivability alongside your 100 resilience, and it works very, very well. Now, as you see, I also am taking bountiful wells. So my elemental well mods can now essentially stack, but if I only run one way to make them, as in my elemental ordnance mod is the only mod I have on my armor, I will actually just generate two. So that means my elemental ordnance and my melee well maker will now generate 2 arc elemental wells instead of 1. So I get a grenade kill, I generate 2 arc elemental wells. I get a melee kill, I generate 2 arc elemental wells. So that is very, very good. That is going to give you even more ability energy back, which is crazy, crazy strong. But it's not only going to do ability energy, because I am also going to be taking Font Might. So whenever I pick up an elemental well that matches my subclass type, it's going to grant me a temporary damage boost. This is very, very strong if you are running Delicate Tomb or a Volt Shot weapon. You're going to be getting more damage for those weapons, and I would also recommend taking a Storm Chaser. Linear Fusions are just the best power weapons in the game right now, and since it is arc, if you have a really good roll on this, Font Might's obviously going to pair really well with this. But if you don't have one, even taking something like your Taipan still will be very, very good. Then finally, I am also going to be running Seeking Wells. This is going to make all my elemental wells spawn track to me. So this is actually very, very good because Ionic Traces already inherently track to you every time you generate them. So now that means whenever I get my grenade or melee kill, I will spawn 2 elemental wells for each of those alongside spawning Ionic Traces. All the Ionic Traces and elemental wells will track to me, so I literally don't even have to run and get them, and they're all going to be feeding me ability energy. They're all going to be feeding me weapon damage with things like Font Might and even things like Delicate Tomb with its Tempest Cascade perk, because it's going to increase its effectiveness when it picks up a Ionic Trace, not only by jolting targets but refilling the magazine. And with all that combined, you could just spam your abilities 24/7. Now for my final mods, I do have Surge Detonators, so all my arc grenades will disrupt champions, so I can stun overload champions. This is really good for in-game content since you're going to have grenades up 24/7. You always can overload enemies with your grenade, and then you can obviously take Unstoppable or Anti-Barrier in your arm slot. Just swap your primary weapon out and you'll be able to cover all the champions. Then the last mod is Trace Evidence. So defeating arc combatants affected by arc debuffs spawn Ionic Traces. So now whenever I kill enemies that are arc debuff, things like Jolt or Blind, they will also spawn Ionic Traces. Ionic Traces are such an integral part of this build, so having this alongside Electrostatic Mind, Spark of Ions, and Spark of Discharge, and with Delicate Tomb just Journey Ionic Traces itself, you have 5 different ways to create these Ionic Traces. So literally every single kill, you're getting an Ionic Trace no matter what, and sometimes you're getting 2 to 3 per kill. It is very, very strong, and it is what allows you to spam abilities alongside generating those wells and getting your damage buffs. This build synergy is just absolutely cracked. It is one of the best builds in the game. It is the best at clear build in the game, hands down. I don't foresee any other build even coming close to this, and this is definitely one you all need to try. All right, well, that's going to do it for my updated Arc 3.0 build. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys would change anything about the build, be sure to let me know in the comments. If you try it out, be sure to let me know how much you like it. I will have a dim link to this build in the pinned comments below if you guys would like to go check it out over there. And I really think you should, because I seriously think this is one of the best builds in the game. I know Warlocks at the beginning with Arc 3.0 got a lot of slander. I really hope this showed you that it actually is pretty good, and I hope you all give it a try. But if you guys did enjoy this content and would like to see more, consider subscribing, drop a like, and turn those notifications on. Also, if you'd like to join my Discord or follow me on any of my socials, all that will be linked in the description as well. But just know watching this video is way more than enough. Every single bit of support from you all is truly appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching this one. Have a great day. Peace.